Hello everyone, it's me again, Filipinas, and today I'm going to do my last applied reflection presentation that revolves around our session 5 readings. So here are the two chapters that I'm going to touch on today. We have chapter 11, Designing and Implementing Improvements, and chapter 12, Using Improvement Teams and Tools. So let's get started. So chapter 11 of our text revolves around a numerous approach required for improvements. Some of the approaches introduced in this chapter is the PDCA cycle that consists of 4 steps that are linked, systematic, and continuous approach that can be applied in any quality improvement projects. Six Sigma project is also introduced in this chapter, along with its most common steps, the DMAIC, that stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control, that are similar to the PDCA cycle. But the only difference is it focuses more on the root causes of problem, which makes it a great problem-solving tool. Lean strategies are also discussed in this chapter that identify defects and used in healthcare to improve processes by removing waste. 5S methodology are also introduced in this chapter. 5S stands for sort, straighten, scrub, standardize, and sustain. You see, 5S is an organizing tool that manages the workplace effectively and eliminate waste. So chapter 11 provides implementation insight for us future health managers to use. The approaches outlined and listed in this chapter can be useful in problem solving, eliminating defects and deviation, and organizing when implementing improvement projects. But I think the most important lesson that we can learn in this chapter is about critical thinking. You see all these approaches centered in critical thinking. Spot and Kelly clearly explained critical thinking and states that critical thinking is essential if managers are to be effective stewards of limited human resources, financial resources, and the patient lives and health that are entrusted to their organization or their community. See, the intent of critical thinking process is to confirm that our thinking is sound and that we have the best solution to what is the real problem or the right option to realize an opportunity. This process will help us to identify and reduce risk facing our organization or the quality improvement project we are in charge of. Finally, critical thinking will assist us, future managers, in identifying opportunities which will help us to reach the strategic goal of our organization. So let's now move on to our last chapter, Chapter 12, which is using improvement teams and tools. According to Spot and Kelly 2017, this chapter describes the role of managers throughout the life of an improvement projects, from chartering the team to selecting the improvement strategies to monitoring the result. So this chapter defines the role of the manager. In this chapter, we learned improvement project charter that outlines a summary or critical details of the proposed project. This chapter also discussed improvement tools and techniques such as process flowcharts and deployment flowcharts that help managers to understand work processes. There's also the cause and effect diagram or the fishbone diagram that helps in organizing and documenting the causes of problems, and a causal loop diagram that display dynamics between cause and effect from a relational standpoint. You see, all these elements boils down to one very important lesson, I think, in this chapter, which is decision making. See, as future managers, we are given the responsibility to make critical decisions that can affect our organization. In making decisions, Spot and Kelly 2017 suggest that using decision criteria is an alternative to consensus. See, in making decision criteria outlined here can be utilized to make effective decision, and by involving the whole team in the process, us managers can often improve the quality of our decision making, especially when generating alternatives. See, we have to include other people. We have to include our team because other people or our teams tend to view problems from different perspective because they have different life experiences. This can help generate alternatives that we might not otherwise have considered. See, talking through big decisions with a mentor or seeking help from organization's executive can also be beneficial, especially for us new managers who are still learning and developing our expertise. Someone with more experience will often be able to suggest more options. So, in the light of our discussion about critical thinking, decision making, and all the identified improvement tools and processes, I found the biblical principle about being open minded or the willingness to consider new ideas relevant to the lesson that we are discussing. The Bible passage in the book of Luke, verse 24, speaks about Jesus and how he appears to the disciples. In this passage, the Bible says, then he opened their minds so they could understand the scriptures. As you can see, having an open mind is an idea of God. To be open minded means to remove or eliminate our personal biases and prejudices from any situation and completely immerse ourselves in another experience. You see, our mind must be open to new things, like what we are discussing about critical thinking, decision making, and all the identified improvement tools and processes. As this new information leads to new understanding. And finally, we must remember that a closed mind makes us blind to the actual truth that lies beneath. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching.